Hi, I'm James Sutton. This is Road to Recovery. And my special guest today, I'm honored to have Jimmy Frazier-Bey, who is one of the best servants of the people that I know. I mean, this guy really lives. A lot of people talk that talk, but this guy actually lives helping others. Welcome, Jimmy.
Thank you, James. And well, it's a real high bar there to live up to. But I thank you for that. And, I just like to say that whole devotion is based on the fact that I have a life of gratitude,
Okay.
I try to function out of that principle of gratitude. Today I am happily married with children.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right. I think I have attained a level of self-sufficiency that is at least satisfying and pleasing.
Okay.
I have a job, and I'm also a person of long-term recovery. By the grace of God, I have over 30 years sober. And that itself, it speaks a lot to my gratitude, because I share that out of gratitude, not gratitude.
Okay.
And the key thing to my whole life is I wouldn't change nothing from my story. I am a person in long-term recovery, as I said, and I was for a period of time addicted to heroin. And, I'm not going to say that it was a fault of this or that. I just was.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is I came from a very loving family. I grew up in a country, and got to run through fields and things like that. It just so happens that I ended up using substances that were very detrimental and that sort of thing to me. And I went through a lot of associated consequences, jails and all those things, and even had a bout with near death.
Okay.
So I have a lot to be grateful for. I really do. And the thing is, James, is that I was able to engage in people who cared enough about me to guide me in the direction where it led me on a path to get where I'm at today. And I'm eternally grateful. And the thing about the span is that a lot of things that were taught to me even as a child started to flourish. It's like planting seeds, The maxims that were taught to me by my parents, my grandparents, started to have meaning. And I say that to say people have within them the inherent wellness, the ability to do good and to survive. Even though we go through different challenges and have to get over certain barriers, we still have that ability to survive once we engage in the right culture, atmosphere, attitude, and belief. And for me, it was a real strange turnaround. I actually, after having worked in the local government here for some years as a plant engineer, I got into some legal problems.
Okay.
So, and I had been to treatment several times, but it actually was a probation officer who said to me, "You either go to treatment or you go back to jail."
Okay.
So I chose treatment.
Makes sense to me.
had no plan to stay sober. That wasn't the plan. The plan was to avoid incarceration. But when I went to treatment, I met certain people that impressed me. They looked good, they sounded good, and and they were talking good, and it was almost like a story. You know what I'm saying? Listening to the story kind of just affected me to the point where I wondered if I could be like that. Now, in my head, it was far-fetched, but I was impressed. And I need to say that during that period, I also had some legal matters that I needed to attend to. So the manipulative person that I was, I resolved that, well, if I stay in treatment, I may be able to avoid going back to jail with these legal trials. And I did. So, but the thing that happened, James, was that that transformation took place. Being around people who really cared about me, seeing how recovery can work, seeing the benefits of it that start outweighing the benefits of using. And, I surrendered. Okay. And when I surrendered, it was like I was cleansed in the process. And I began to feel a little bit about feeling good about myself. And that was far-fetched because I hadn't felt good about myself for a long time.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is that after surrendering, and I was engaged in the 12 steps programs and treatment programs, but most of all, I was engaged in people and people who cared. And I'm pointing out these things, James, because those engagements, that caring and nurturing that I received is what my foundation of gratitude is built on.
I see.
I feel like, man, because I was given so much, I need to give back continuously. But life, being as it was good to me and allowed me to grow. And I began to really realize what it was to try to be sober, to be a human, and to be quote unquote normal, whatever that means.
Yeah, quote, normal. Yeah, right.
We use terms sometimes to label conditions, I think.
Yeah.
But it really felt good. And when I went into treatment, I eventually went to a program post-treatment. It's called the Wells Robertson House, and I stayed there for 16 months. Was able to learn how to save money again. Was able to learn how to develop social skills, problem solve. A whole lot of mechanical skills were developed to help me engage even more in society and with people. And over a period of time, I was so engaged in recovery that the gentleman who then was running the program came to me and said, well, you know what? You've been given a lot, you've come a long way, but you need to do some volunteer work. You need to give some of that back.
Right.
I was convinced. And so he suggested that I go and work for the local detox, and I did. Not work, but volunteer. I went to work, and my intention was to volunteer for the detox at that time in Rockville.
The social model detox?
Social model detox.
Right.
But you know what happened, James? The director came to me about 2 or 3 weeks after I worked. She gave me a paycheck. I said, I'm working here. I'm volunteering here. She said, oh, no, you're working here. And she gave me a job.
Wow.
So that was the onset of my career as a human service worker.
That was your first job.
That was the first job as a human service worker, in recovery. But, the thing that happened, James, was I was able to feel like I was worth something. But I never forgot the fact that I needed to give back what was so freely given to me. And I made a commitment at that time to serve. Now, being in that field, and I had an experience, James, whereas one of the clients, the patients came to me and told me that they said I can't go to sleep right now. I said, who is they? I'm running this shift. He said, they. And I was kind of arrogant about it because I was unlearned.
Yeah.
So the nurse pulled me to the side and said, Jimmy, he's hearing voices. At that time, James, I knew in order for me to stay in this field, I had to educate myself. And that's what I did. I committed to be a servant, but I had to educate myself to serve well. That's what I did.
Right.
And, ended up going to several colleges, attaining a master's degree at Lincoln University. Can you imagine?
That's right.
You
Lincoln,
did too.
That's right, my alma mater.
Yeah,
right?
alma mater. And the thing is, though, James is just a guy like me who had not long been off the streets, had attained a master's degree. And then I went on to do postgraduate studies.
Right.
And
that's great, man.
It is, man. But I don't look at it as anything but something that I need to be grateful for. And that's what moves me towards serving the community today. I think that recovery for me today means, what do I need to do to help somebody? And that helps me stay above the water. I'm learning now that, people all around me have problems of some sort. We all do, One of the things that I like to instill is hope. Hope is the beacon light, And I have a job today. I mentioned the Wells Robertson House. I'm the division manager in City of Gaithersburg of Homeless Services, which is over top the Wells Robertson House. So, it just feels real good. The very program I graduated 30 years ago, I now have an opportunity, and I'll say that with all truth, an opportunity to engage in and give some directions, to those who come through that program. And Wells Robinson House has served over 700 people. I was number 16, So
Wow.
yes, number 16. I can't forget that. But being in the position I am now affords me the opportunity to teach what I know, share what I've learned, and give back what has so freely been given to me. So I feel like I want to label myself as a servant to the community, and that makes me feel real good about who I am. Recovery to me is a really, really big thing. Of course, about the fact that we're in this epidemic now, the opiate epidemic, and we got a lot of work to do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to a break. We got a couple of minutes left. Now, with the opiate epidemic, do you have Narcan at Wells? Or?
Yes, we do. We most of my staff, and I might be all of them, but I'm gonna play it safe and say most of my staff have been trained on Narcan, and we have it available.
Good.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, this weekend I was in D.C. and with another group that I'm associated with, and we talked about Narcan training too. I actually offered
Good.
your services.
Yeah, I'm available.
I know.
I'm available. All you gotta do is call me.
That's right, yeah. So yes, we do have Narcan, James, and even beyond the Narcan, we also do what we can to educate the community and those around us, which includes family, friends, and all, because this opiate epidemic has really taken course, and it's really devastating. And I remember when we had the opiate situation in the 70s. It was really devastating,
Yes.
So I can empathize with the community and those who experience those consequences and different chaos that goes with it. I can really empathize with it. And, I have a lot to be grateful for. You hear me say it all the time. And I will tell you that, I've experienced even the overdose. I was in a coma for 3 days.
Is that right?
Yes,
Wow.
when I was using heroin. And woke up and said, I want some more.
Yes.
So
this
is
pre-contemplation. You was in pre-contemplation for sure.
or before that somewhere, But definitely, yeah. So I can relate. So I do not try to condemn people or put them down or anything like that, because I do empathize with those who are experiencing that opiate situation now, or any substance of abuse. Mm-hmm. And it's something I think the community has to take note of. And I think that we're doing a really, really good job overall of addressing the opiate epidemic right now. I really do. And I'm really, really grateful that Montgomery County particularly, I was born and raised here, have the services and the programs in place to address substance use and mental illnesses. I think they're tops.
Well, coming from you, because you're right on the ground, you're on the front line. Coming from you, then that's saying a lot for Montgomery County Services and Health and Human Services and the Police Department, everybody that's working as a team to help alleviate the opiate and other substance use disorder issues. Yeah.
Well, I say it with sincerity, and beyond that, I'm born and raised in the city of Gaithersburg, and we call that the greatest city in the world.
Okay.
But the city of Gaithersburg, Wells Robinson House sits in the front yard of the city hall.
Right.
That shows a commitment to serving that population, and on the sign of this Wells Robinson House it says a community effort. So kudos to the city of Gaithersburg too, man, because we really go all out to help those in need.
Well, I think we're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, we got to hear that story, right? My favorite story.
All right.
So this is Road to Recovery. My guest today is Jimmy Frazier-Bey, and we'll be right back. This is Road to Recovery. I'm James Sutton. My guest today, Jimmy Frazier-Bey. Well, welcome back, Jimmy.
Thank you.
So we were just talking about substance use disorder and some of the interventions that are working in Montgomery County. You would say Montgomery County is doing a good job providing services with the opiate epidemic and Narcan. And at Wells Robinson, your residents, do they go to treatment?
Yes, and James, that there are numerous pathways
Okay.
You know, so, yeah, we try to get people out of the local treatment centers, and we look for a certain level of stability because we're a high functioning
Okay.
situation. Yeah, and so, yeah, basically our criteria at the Wells Robinson House is that a person be literally homeless according to HUD standards, and that they be at least in stage 3 of the stages of change.
Oh, okay.
Theoretical stage of change. Now, that's because, the program itself is very high functioning. Most of our people work, and if they're on disability, they have to volunteer.
Oh, I see.
So, and the whole goal is to move them into permanent supportive housing. And I'm telling you, the county has been really good with that, housing a lot of homeless people in the last few years. So I'm really impressed with that. And so we're part of that continuum. As a matter of fact, we're probably, and arguably, there's no program like Wells Robinson House. I mean, because we're on two paths. We provide transitional housing for the homeless, but that homeless is a specific population, being people who are in recovery from substance use disorders.
Right.
So we're on both channels here,
Right.
for homeless and substance use, and I think we've been very successful in that pathway, and mostly because we engage different providers, and we're just not partners. We engage,
Okay.
mental health, somatic health, housing, and support for recovery. We bring it all together at Wells Robinson House.
Right.
And then we try to engage our residents in certain learnings that are often taken for granted, like problem solving, coping skills.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
When you move into your house and you're living all alone, and your neighbors causing a lot of ruckus, you need to know how to deal with that. So we teach them that.
True.
When you move into your house and you eating fast food every day and can't save money, you need to be able to challenge that. So we teach them how to shop, how to cook meals. As a matter of fact, the Wells Robinson House, one of the founders told me, he said, if there's anything I would change about this program, it would be the name. And I said, what do you mean? He said, I would change it from the Wells Robinson House to the Wells Robinson Home, because that's what we do. We try to model living in your own home.
Okay.
From cleaning, making your bed up, cooking, reporting maintenance, shopping, problem solving, and we really impress upon our residents to utilize peers and the community. They say, Jimmy, can you do this for me? I said, look, I'm not going to go home with you when you leave here, so you need to learn how to do it.
Right.
And, that's a really good feeling when people learn how to do things like make a grocery list, save money, develop a budget for savings and expenditures.
Right.
It just all works out. And, I personally, I think that there are not enough programs like Wells Robinson House.
No doubt. I get calls from prisons trying to asking me to get people into Wells Robinson when they come home. They doing 2 or 3 years. They say, can you get me in Wells Robinson when I get out? I'm saying, you're going to be locked up for 2 or 3 years. You want me to try to get you in now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in the whole state knows that Wells Robinson is one of the best programs traditionally, in the state of Maryland, not just in Montgomery County. Yeah. And you guys do a fantastic job. I no doubt, man.
Well, James, as I said, I think that, we could benefit from more supportive housing, particularly for people in recovery. I think that whole peer support culture helps to enhance people's insight on themselves, and it helps to give them esteem. They feel more connected with each other, and that's what we try to promote at the Wells Robinson House. And in this local community, the Tree of Hope has been real helpful with us. Let me tell you something about peers. I thought it just came to me. It's exciting.
Okay.
So, I was a part of the original change model for the ROS that came in Montgomery County in 2010.
Right.
And, we would travel to Philadelphia, different places, Baltimore, and, for collaborative learnings.
Yes.
And it dawned on me, we calling this peer support, but Wells Robinson House has had peer supports almost since its inception.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that was acknowledged by one of the people in Baltimore who was very familiar with Wells Robinson. I said, well, you guys been doing this for years.
Right.
You know, we have staff that are actually in recovery.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we have to work on a professional level because we're getting paid.
Yeah.
But that whole culture of peer support has always existed in Wells Robinson. So when it came, when we started doing it here as a model, it was not unfamiliar.
Right.
So it feels real good to be a part of the peer support group here in Montgomery County. And I hope that we can do more and evolve to the point where more people are getting the services they need from peers. And I hope that we can close the gap between peers and professionals where they can be more collaborative and give services to the people in need. And it's a real good thing, and I'm glad to see that it's starting to take hold more now.
It is, yeah, it is.
And so you know, and I think that's one of the other strategies that's been really effective here in this area and abroad. I mean, I've been to Philly, Connecticut, you know, New York, and I have some friends in Detroit who are really engaged in the peer support.
Okay.
So, you know, it's growing. And
Yes.
it's becoming real obvious that it works. And that's what we need to let people see it work. We don't need to try to convince nobody. Let's put it in action, you know what I'm saying? And let them see for themselves. But I think that the whole recovery culture is starting to evolve now, you know. And I think that the ideas behind recovery are starting to expand, you know. And we're starting to be more open to the different pathways, the different supports. But the thing that I'm kind of focused and committed to now is building bridges from the treatment programs, the recovery culture to the community.
Yes.
I think that's where it's part. Because, see, we can't live inside of institutions forever.
Right.
Our hope is that sometimes the person will go from a program to the community.
Yes.
So why not have those resources in the community that's going to help sustain them in their recovery?
Right.
And we do, but we need more.
We need more and early intervention.
Early intervention.
You know, when I do the family group at Avery Road, you know, I'm really, you know, moved so much by the family members who still attend the family group, and their children have OD'd. Their children have passed, but they still want to connect with people and let people know that have children that are having addictions or husband or wives, that there's a way to recover, you know, and that they can be supportive of each other as they're going through that struggle, you know. So, you know, the Ross model is a healthy model that people don't recover in treatment centers. People recover in the community.
That's right, James.
The treatment center is only 28 days, but then they live in the community for the rest of their life. So it's the onus is on us in the community to provide, you know, whatever supportive service a person needs to not commit criminal activity, to have stable mental health status, and abstain from, you know, drug and alcohol, you know, abuse.
Sure. And not to mention that we have to continuously encourage, and I say that because when a person, you know, has a relapse or mental health breakdown in recovery, that's not the end of the world.
Right.
You know, we need to let them know that they can continue on, you know, and we have to have that attitude. And as you said about the family, sometimes family get really frustrated. You know, they feel like it's a total despair. You know, so we got to educate the family. We got to educate the community. We got to educate the employers.
Yeah.
People need jobs. You know what I'm saying? So that's a systemic way of treating this substance use disorder. You know, it's holistic. And that's basically what the Ross model tries to promote. And also, I think you were alluding to this. It sounded like you were heading in this direction. We got to treat the whole person.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The whole person. And when we start looking at that, we realize then we need everybody's help.
Yes.
The doctors, the lawyers, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. The businessman.
The businessman, you know.
Right.
People need jobs, you know.
Right.
So, you know, that's when the whole community becomes a support mechanism. When we look at it, treating the whole person. And, you know, the point is, James, that I'm learning these things, and you might could see it. I'm so, geared up, man. Because when we talk about recovery, opportunity to serve the community,
Yes.
I'm in it.
Yes.
I'm in it, man. Let me
In it to win it.
Hey, where can I get in? Is this a 4-door or a bus or what?
Yeah.
Where can I sit at? You know what I'm saying? I want to be a part of service, and I say that out of gratitude. I just tell you the story that kind of speaks to me.
Please.
And this is a story, I think you've heard it before. And I got to give honors to the gentleman who gave me the story, Dr. George Logan Hill. He was a professor.
Oh, yeah.
our
He was my
in
professor,
Lincoln.
too. Yeah.
Yes. But let's just tell it like this. There's a little boy, and let's just give him a name. His name is Jimmy.
Okay, Jimmy.
So Jimmy walked home from school every day, and he's always had a group of kids around him. You know what I'm saying? And Jimmy was the type of person he just wanted to be looking good all the time. He always wanted to show off.
Okay.
And so on the way from school to home, he would always go past this tree with this blind man sitting under the tree. The blind man was very wise, and Jimmy knew that. But Jimmy's thing was, I gotta show my friends that I'm smarter than this blind man. So he would go past there, he'd pick up a rock and say, blind man, what's in my hand? And the blind man would say, a rock? So he'd go by the next day and he'd pick up a stick and say, blind man, what's in my hand? And the blind man said, a stick. So the children were laughing at him now. See, this old man is smarter than you are, and he's blind, Jimmy. So Jimmy, this was a Friday, and Jimmy said, you know what? I'm going to trick that guy, and I'm going to take all weekend to plan it. So when Monday came around, and Jimmy thought long and hard about how he could trick the blind man. So Jimmy had a plan. He went to get all of his friends because he wanted to make an impression. He said, I'm going to trick the blind man today. So Jimmy went and he said, now look, there's a bird's nest up in that tree, and there's some baby birds there. He said, I'm going to climb that tree, get me a baby bird, and put it in my hands. He said, now I'm going to say, blind man, what's in my hand? And the blind man's going to say, a bird. He said, now this is where I'm going to trick him. I'm going to ask the blind man, is the bird living or is he dead? And if he said the bird is living, I'm going to crush him to death. So Jimmy got the bird. He went, say, blind man, what's in your hand? The blind man said, a bird. Jimmy said, is the bird living or is it dead? The blind man said, that too is in your hands.
Wow.
That's the story of my life.
Wow.
We have choices.
And with that, that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thank you, Jimmy,
and
for the opportunity.
Thank you again. This has been Jimmy Frazier-Bey. My name is James Sutton, and I'll see you on the road to recovery.